If you're watching this, you probably feel lost. You don't know if what you're working on even matters or if any of it will pay off a few years from now. And that's exactly why I'm making this video, because for half of my life, I felt the same way. It didn't matter how much money I made, how many business I built, I still felt lost. And it took me almost 10 years to figure out why, and even longer to fix it for good. But I promise you this, you will find all your answers in this video. So without further ado, let's talk business. Okay, so let's go through the overview. How to never feel lost again. First of all, we need to understand why people feel lost in the first place, okay? We need to understand what lost actually means, because think about it by yourself. Could you describe what lost actually means? And why do we even say lost? It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because you didn't lose yourself, so to say, so you can't find yourself. And we will solve that problem inside of your head, because it's a problem of understanding your current situation. We will use the alignment model to do that, because it's always about the 3 misalignments and the loop of self-sabotage, okay? We're going to make clear that you never ever feel like there is fog in your mind and that you have your internal compass at hand to get out of every situation that feels even close of being stuck or being lost. Because there's one method and one method only to return back to clarity, okay? And to make sure that you can apply that in your life, you get alignment prompts from us and the identity and direction check. Because without direction, we are literally lost. We are lost purely by not having a direction, okay? Let's start. Why people feel lost in first place. So people actually do not feel lost because their life is wrong. Take yourself. I assume at least once in your life, you had this feeling of being lost, right? But most people, they feel lost because their goals and actions and internal direction no longer match each other, okay? And I want you to go back in time and think about the last time when you felt like something is not really going into the right direction, or it feels kind of misaligned. It's always the case that there is some misalignment in your internal world and the external world, right? Because when external direction does not match internal truth, the mind signals confusion. And think about it, confusion is a pretty well word, like a very specific word for how you feel right now, because whenever we are lost, we are confused about what to do next because nothing feels right at all anymore. So when internal truth does not match daily behavior, the mind signals resistance. And it's pretty simple to understand because, just let me explain you this. If this is your baseline of behavior and your action is not according to your baseline, you get off. You get off of your baseline step by step by step by step. And all of a sudden, there is a huge gap between who you are and who you want to be. And this gap is what actually feels like something is not right. Something is not going the way it should be. So therefore, when internal truth does not match daily behavior, it's such a perfect term to describe it. Take your daily behavior and think about how much of your actions reflect your true self every day. In my life, for a long time, that was not the case, right? From drugs to all the other hedonistic stuff I did just to compensate something. So this is not a personal failure, it's misalignment. And I can speak about that like from an standpoint of experience. It's true. Of course, you made a failure. Of course, it's somehow personal to you. But if you see it from a observer perspective, it's actually misalignment of who you are and who you want to be. And most people never learn the mechanics of alignment, okay? So they rely on motivation instead of structure, and they rely on emotion instead of clarity. Because clarity is the cure-all for everything that's going, let's say, in the wrong direction in your life. Because once you know what to do next, and once you feel that this is the right thing to do, you never feel lost. So people rely on identity labels instead of an internal calibration. And this is why the feeling returns again and again. And we don't want that. We want to get rid of the feeling of being lost because it's annoying. It's so annoying. And at the end, let me tell you one thing, it's a pattern. It's a pattern deeply rooted because the underlying mechanism was never addressed until now. Because we do it in this video, we make it obvious. Awareness, clarity, action, okay? Once it's obvious, it becomes almost impossible or not to see it anymore. Quickly, if you would like to get access to this document, make sure you're going to text me on Instagram. Just message me, lost, and I make sure you get the link like this. So what lost actually means? Let's find out. Feeling lost is not a crisis, it's a notification. Isn't that an interesting standpoint? Once you see it this way, it feels like, oh, I get the notification that something feels off. It seems like I am not on my path anymore. Does it mean I'm lost? That depends on how you interpret the situation, because your mind is telling you one of three things, okay? You are pursuing a goal that is not longer yours, okay? The goal may have belonged to you years ago, but it may have been inherited from someone else's expectations. And that's applicable for most of the time family situations or someone that is really important for you, right? You just inherited the goal purely because of the expectations that the other person had. And I want you to understand that whenever that happens in your life, this is a real problem because neither the way to get there fulfills you, nor the accomplishment of it. So in itself, you are trapped. The other reason is your actions no longer match the direction you want. This is critical. This is really critical because you say one thing and do another. That's straight pathway to hell. And it sounds hard, but it's true because you lose trust in yourself. And if you don't trust yourself, how should you trust anyone else? Okay? So not of weakness, but out of misalignment. And I want to emphasize that very clearly, between stated desire and actual behavior. And you don't want that misalignment. You don't want that. We try to avoid that at all costs, okay? And the most common one, especially in today's business world, you're trying to skip a step in your journey. And this is, unfortunately, not the way it works. Because you want the outcome but avoid the process. That doesn't work like that. It's almost the same if you read a book about how to become the best ultimate fighter. You can read as much as you want. Reality is going to catch up on you once you step into an octagon or ring to try to fight if you never actually spent the time to train, learn, and grow into this identity you need to be able to compete on that level. So you can't skip a part of the process. It's not possible, right? So you want the identity upgrade, but maintain old patterns. And here's what you change, or here's what changes when you understand this. And I learned that the hard way. So please make sure you take this video, make notes, think about here and then, pause the video, try to understand where this is applicable to your life right now. You are not lost. You are out of sync. Okay? The mind uses confusion to force a reset. That's it. That's as simple as it is. And once you start to see that, you will realize that whatever you thought is caused by the feeling of being lost was actually just your mind screaming at you, hey, something doesn't feel right. Please recalibrate that and find a way out. And just by understanding this removes roughly 30% of the emotional weight immediately. And you know why? Because it detaches you. It detaches you to a certain extent from the responsibility of being the one who causes that in first place, okay? And this is why the alignment model is so important. Alignment is the state where three elements match: what you want, what you do, and who you are becoming. And now I ask you, when was the last time you thought about your goals? And not because you were like a daydreamer and thought about, it would be so cool to have money, to never work again. That's not a goal, that's a dream. Okay, no, an actual goal. When you really sit down and think, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 kilos and I want to get thinner or more healthy. I want to live a healthy lifestyle. And tell me, when was the last time that your actions reflected that behavior to get closer to the goal? Chances are high that that was never the case. I'm sorry to say that. And I address my past self here. I call myself out because I was a full-time idiot, okay? And do you actually know who you want to become? Because here's the tricky part. Let's say I want to become a healthy person. I need to admit to myself first that I live an unhealthy lifestyle. So there's either the truth behind a lie or the lie behind the truth. Because you can't change if you're not specific about where you're at right now. And that's hard. It's hard and it's a process. But that's why we do the video. I got you. I got your back. I'm here to do that because you don't have to do it on your own. So when these three things form a straight line, direction feels clear. We know that, right? It's a default thing. And when one of these three things breaks, the system collapses. Unfortunately, you don't realize that because you have no dashboard in front of you with a light blinking, hey, misalignment, misalignment, misalignment. No. It reflects that, like your day reflects that in small micro encounters that you feel probably on a very minor level during the day, but it is there. You can see it. If I would go back in your life, almost like in a Netflix documentary, I could see your misalignment here and then. It's not obvious in a small step, like the situation itself maybe didn't feel like a big deal, but over time it's going to leverage to a big deal. So you'll feel lost because the line broke. And this is not a strategy. This is not a strategy. This is maintenance. Okay, so let me explain you what that means. Accept that stuff like this happens. You are a human being. I am a human being. And you see that because sometimes I even stumble when I read something. Do I feel bad about it? No, because I try my best to help you. And if it on cost of not being perfect in how I do it, I can live with it. Because if you see it, my identity is I just want to serve other people's life. I want, as a goal, to help other people to not make the same mistakes I did. And I do that by action, so I feel aligned. This is why I can live with that, right? And look, think of it like a car's alignment, okay? Like a car. When the alignment is off, the vehicle pulls to one side. We had that. Whoever drove a car before, especially in my young years with my brokey cars, like they were so wasted. If I would take my hands, I would have taken my hands from the steering wheel, bye-bye. And that's the same example here, because the driver compensates constantly, okay? And that creates fatigue. So the problem is not the driver's effort, it's the misalignment of the system. And what we can learn from that is you realign the system and clarity returns instantly, okay? Again, yes, you are a co-driver of your mind sometimes. Unfortunately, it sounds not, I would say, sexy, but it's the boring truth. The mundane truth is you are, to a certain amount of time per day, a co-driver in your life on autopilot. Okay, and I don't care who you are, all of us are on autopilot sometimes. And that's not really beneficial because we don't really realize what's going on. And the three misalignments that are most common in today's world, and this is something I can tell from working with over thousands of people as clients, or like just people I met in life, is goal misalignment. Your goals are outdated, okay? Stop carrying around goals that don't mean anything to you anymore, okay? We as children, we are really good at letting things go. You want to be a policeman? Cool. Next day you want to be an astronaut? Cool. You don't spend years on pretending to want something that you actually don't want anymore. at the evening, it could be completely different to what it was in the morning. And you need to get back to the mantra of letting things go. I don't say switch goals easily. I just say don't hold on to something that has no meaning to you anymore, okay? Damn, I love doing these videos. I want to be really honest here. I feel that such like from deep inside of myself because this describes me when I was a full-time idiot trying to achieve goals that actually means nothing to me, wasting years to trying to chase them. But they weren't real, right? So you may still be chasing an older version of your dream, but your mind evolved, your identity evolved, your desires evolved, but the goal stayed the same, okay? And that creates internal conflict. Spoiler alert, we don't want that because your spirit says go left, your habits say keep going straight. Merry Christmas. Misalignment as at best. So many people experience this after achieving a milestone because the goal that once energized them now feels empty. But this emptiness is just purely because they didn't take care of the feeling after the achievement. You see that a lot of world champions, right? They got to the title, like to the top, to the pinnacle of the sport, of the best, and then they lose themselves because they lose the purpose, they lose direction. And the identity to achieve and chase something is so powerful. It's almost the same if you sell a company. Everyone is chasing this exit, but you don't want an exit actually. You want to feel like you made an exit, but once you made the exit, you realize it's gone. And this maybe is a hard example, right? But why is it that people never would sell their kids? Because you never want to give the most valuable thing away. So think about your dreams and your desires in the same way. They grow over time. They don't stop at one point and you can sell them. There is no number. It's an internal feeling of loving what you do so much that there can't be a price tag on it, okay? So it's not failure, it's evolution, okay? Here's the diagnostic question. Would I choose this goal today if I had no history with it? Such a strong statement. We could even say, maybe you should ask yourself the same about the partner that you have right now. Not being mean here. But ask yourself, would you choose your partner again if you would meet him today? There's a lot of truth in those questions, right? I'm not being mean here, guys. It's just challenging your mind and status quo in life. And if the answer is no, you don't need more discipline, you need a different goal, okay? Straight followed by action misalignment. Your actions do not match your goals. Hey, come on, this is, I think, the most common one. I go to the gym today. Maybe tomorrow. Oh, I don't eat that. I ate that. I wake up at 8. I didn't wake up at that time, right? This is 100% being human. And I understand. I am the same. But at least if you're aware of that, you can get over it, okay? So people think they lack discipline, but they actually don't. Most of the time, they lack alignment, and we learned that. So if your goal excites you, but your actions oppose them, your mind sends resistance. And I need you to understand that because resistance is not laziness, it's, again, misalignment. Misalignment is, I believe, actually every time in whatever world, like in every problem in the world, it's misalignment. Between people, between situation, status, facts, it's misalignment. If you make less money than you spend, it's misalignment, okay? So I give an example. You want creative freedom, but your calendar is structured for external validation. You want financial growth, but your actions prioritize comfort and safety. And now do it for yourself. Take your actions, take what you do on an everyday chance. The goals pull forward, the actions pull backward. Opposite sides. How can that work? You lose so much energy just fighting yourself, you have no idea how powerful you would be if you would put all your strength into one direction. okay? And this is not a character flaw, it's a structural problem. Isn't that cool? Because a structure is something we can fix. It's not about our character. Because once you are aware of that, it's hard to pretend not to know. So I ask you, do my daily actions match what I say I want? Okay, let me highlight that. That's a good one. Do my daily actions match what I say I want? And I would say that the gap between stated desire and actual behavior reveals the misalignment. So do it for yourself, ask yourself, and you will find out if it's one of the first ones, number 1 or number 2 or 3. Identity misalignment. The version of yourself you operate from is too small for your goals. By the way, I would say this is the number 1 problem of most founders. I want to make $1 million per month. I want to do an exit of 20 millions, but you have not the identity yet. You want goals that you have not built the identity for yet, which is normal. It's okay. I like that, to be honest, because you can grow into this version of yourself that you need most to get there. This is, by the way, the blueprint of goals. Just becoming the version you need to be to fulfill the goal, right? So this is the deepest form of misalignment. And I think this is the hardest part because it creates this emotional friction that makes you feel like, this is really hard. I start to identify myself with it and I don't really know the solution because I think it's a me problem. It's me being the obstacle in my own way. And the mind resists identity expansions because expansion requires letting go of the version of yourself that got you here. Understand that. If you make it so obvious, or like if we make it so obvious, it takes the power away, right? Especially from that version that is so familiar, that proven, like it's so safe. But the new version, it's stepping into the unknown, uncomfortable, uncertainty. So the mind creates internal resistance to slow down. It slows you down because it doesn't want to feel like there is a risk that you expose it to. And this is why people feel stuck, even when the path forward is technically clear. And you can hijack that by asking yourself, what version of myself am I operating from? And what version do my goals require? Because the gap between those two identities is where the lost feeling lives. There you can meet it. It's his home address. And it will ever be at exactly that point. And that leads straight to the loop of self-sabotage, okay? Because when alignment breaks, people run a predictable loop, always. And promise you, you will going to meet yourself, so to say, if I walk you through. It's confusion followed by overthinking, led straight to an action, then you feel guilt, temporary motivation of change, and then you repeat that. Is it familiar to you? It's for me to be. It is to me, at least. This loop, by the way, again, is not a personality flaw. It's, again, a system. It's a mechanical consequence of misalignment. I can't say that often enough. Misalignment is the origin of everything that's bad if you don't treat it the right way. And motivation cannot fix misalignment, only realignment can. You need to actually spend the time to identify the misalignment to then be able to change it. Awareness of the misalignment, clarity on how to put it into realignment again, and then the action to actually do it. And most people try to motivate themselves out of misalignment, which is impossible. And this is why the cycle repeats. You nourish the cycle, actually. That leads straight to the fog effect, okay? Feeling lost is like walking through mental fog. Difficulty to make decisions, no clear next step, which is a horrible feeling, to be honest. Doing many tasks, but moving nowhere. Again and again, we are familiar with that, right? Craving direction from others. This is when you start asking anyone else for help, including the guy who delivers the post to you. Obsessing over purpose. Isn't it crazy how easy it is to expose our mind on a video like this? To make it so obvious that the fog effect is the mind slowing you down until you realign, right? Because again, it is a mechanism, and fog is the brake. It is the brake mechanism that makes you stop. Almost like in a car at night when it's foggy outside, you slow down because you don't know what's in front of you. And therefore, I want you to understand, it's feedback. It's not a failure. It is feedback. It's your operating system. It's your mind. Deal with it. Use your internal compass to do that, okay? Every person has a built-in compass. It's just gut feeling, okay? And it points always toward the combination of what matters to you, okay? What energizes you. And you can ask that yourself. It's easy. What you want to build and what aligns with your identity expansion. When you feel lost, your compass is not broken. You are ignoring it. This is, by definition, burnout, by the way. Just saying. Don't hate me for that. But it's burnout. Literally. Why? Because the compass let me say it this way. The compass often points in a direction that feels uncomfortable, yes, risky, or different from what you should do. But what you do as a reaction is you override it, you rationalize, you delay, and the lost feeling intensifies. Probably familiar to you, right? Even for me, when I read that, I feel exposed by myself. So the solution is not to search for direction. The solution is to remove everything blocking your compass. Remove the outdated goals, remove the misaligned actions, and remove the old identity. Direction always was there. So the one method to return clarity is pretty simple. Notice, name, realign. Catch the signal of misalignment just by purely asking yourself, what part of my system is out of sync? Is it a goal? Is it an action? Is it the identity? And then identify the exact misalignment. I give an example. My goal is driven by obligation, not desire. My goal prioritizes comfort over growth. I am operating from my 2022 identity in a 2025 goal. Right? And once you name it, you can address it. It becomes obvious and you can tackle it. And then you realign. Update one element so the line becomes straight again. You don't fix everything, you fix the next link. You remember I pointed out here, oh my God, we had a good time doing that. So here's our misalignment. First misalignment, next misalignment, next misalignment, next one. And to make sure you not build the next one here, you set it there, and there, and there. Getting closer to your baseline, okay? So, people think clarity comes from answers, but that's not true. People need to understand that clarity comes from alignment, from the feeling. If clarity could be served to you by pure knowledge, all of us would be literally millionaires and super healthy because we would know what to do and how to do it and would straight do it. But that's not the way it works. You feel yourself into the way of clarity. That's why sometimes you need to understand that the point of feeling aligned to yourself is the feeling inside of you instead of anything else. So, alignment prompts to make it easy for you, if you watch this video, to do it by yourself and to ask yourself out of the situation that you are in right now, ask yourself, does this goal still belong to me? Is it maybe outdated? Why are you even chasing this goal in first place? Is my goal driven by a desire or obligation? And I think, to be really frank, Here is where the magic happens, in the identity. Action, to be honest, too. If you run a business, probably it's identity. If you're unhappy with your private life, probably it's inside of the action alignment, okay? And at the end of the day, let me tell you one thing. Most people feel lost because they try to access a future level using a past identity. Let's say that one more time. Most people feel lost because they try to access a future level using a past identity. Was true in my life. Can't deny that. And your direction is correct. Your identity is outdated. And I think this is a common problem in today's world because who are you? What is your identity? Social media gives us a hard time to know who we are, right? So, what identity must I retire? This is what people don't understand. Growth and change comes along with a lot of pain because your old identity has to die, which is painful. Because you have to admit to yourself that the old version has to go because it's not working anymore. And that's not a bad thing, okay? The moment identity aligns with direction, the lost feeling ends. And this is true. This is really true. So how can you practice that daily? Every morning, I want you to ask yourself, what do I want today? And what action aligns with that? Where did I drift today? And what is the correct direction for me? Right? Realign every day. Just make it obvious. And what did I do today that matched who I want to become? Give yourself credits. You deserve it, okay? Clarity is not found. That's why talking about being lost is such a BS. Clarity is maintained. Don't let anyone tell you different. For all of you who want to stay lost forever, I have the shortcut, okay? If you want to stay lost, chase goals that no longer excite you. Be very ambitious about that and lie about it to yourself. Keep actions that contradict your desires. Always a go-to source of making sure you stay lost. My favorite, operate from an outdated identity. Go for it and pretend not to know. Then it's super strong. And ignore all internal signals because you don't need them. Same like if you drive a car and the dashboard is blinking like a rainbow to you and you pretend like, oh no, nothing is going wrong. Expect motivation to solve misalignment. Do that. And best case, blame others if it's not working. Wait for someone else to tell you your purpose. Try to skip the steps your journey requires. And pretend you do not know what you want. Because avoiding the truth leads you straight to avoid making decisions and confuse busyness with direction. If you invert this list, you actually fail on the goal of being lost forever because you find alignment. So one more time, fun aside, feeling lost is not a crisis. It's a misalignment. Maybe we should start a video with that. Feeling lost is not a crisis. It's okay. It's your body telling you something needs to change now. Your system is made of goals, action, and identity. And it's true. This is how we are evolve as a species. When the three break, direction disappears. And when the three align, clarity returns instantly. Not in a day, not in 2 days, but instantly. So, you always know the next step once the line is straight, which is true. Think about the time when you felt like life was easy. You know what you do. You know what to do next. And alignment removes confusion, fatigue, and hesitation. Alignment brings back momentum and confidence. And this gives the exact feeling of, I know why I'm lost and exactly how to fix it. Okay? So, make sure one alignment check daily, one misalignment fixed weekly, one identity update monthly. Because when alignment becomes a habit, being lost becomes impossible.